Hey guys, my name's Alex Baldwin. I run the YouTube channel AlexZafro and welcome to F1 YouTubers Decoded.
Hello everyone, Merry Christmas and welcome to F1 YouTubers Decoded episode 5. Now today we have a very special guest, someone who has been on our channel before, a great guy to talk to, Alex Baldwin from the YouTube channel AlexZafro. Now Alex appeared in our first video back where we all talked about our 2019 predictions for the season back in January. So we were all looking forward to this interview, and what better way to conclude the year with how we started it. We learnt a lot from him back in January, and we knew this was going to be a great interview. Alex started YouTube back in 2011 on his channel, but his aspirations for YouTube went way before that. We talked about his aspirations in Formula 1, his aspirations on YouTube and how he has grown into one of the biggest names in YouTube right now, and of course his biggest project that he's undergoing with the biggest name in YouTube for our chosen sport. All that and more in this amazing interview with AlexZafro. So while you're waiting for the Christmas dinner to be made, or waiting for the Queen's speech, sit back, relax and enjoy our final episode of YouTubers Decoded in 2019. Hi Alex and welcome to YouTubers Decoded. First off, Merry Christmas. How are you today?
Yes, good, thank you. It's nice to end the year on a high. I mean, we chatted at the start of the year, didn't we, with some not so great predictions. Well, maybe on my part, but nonetheless, it's good to be back and thank you for inviting me.
Yep, it's our pleasure. Yes, as you mentioned there, one of the first videos, well, the first video we did back was the predictions with yourself on episode 101, how we've all changed since then. So, Alex, kicking off the first question for this series, it's just about Formula 1 in your personal life. How did you actually get into Formula 1? How did you become a fan of our great sport?
I think I can't always remember the exact details here. It's kind of weird. There are things that sort of come back and forth. But I remember I was in primary school and I had a couple of friends that watched Formula One. Of course, they were Glory supporters, and I was just supporting Yana Trulli, so it was never such a good time for me. But that must have been the early 2000s. And then I think I went to my first motor race at Brands Hatch in 2004, the end of that year. And then, as soon as you hear like a Formula 3 car, like a proper Formula 3 car from like 10 years ago, when you hear that for the first time, it's absolutely insane. The noise is something, I mean, I guess like if you'd went and watched Formula 1 back in that era as well, the engines were just insane in comparison to what they are nowadays. I think that kind of got me hooked. I think that's probably what a lot of people say is just the sound sort of got them in. And then obviously, I think a lot of people that are sort of age, as soon as Lewis Hamilton came on the scene, he was sort of the guy that sort of brought everyone together to watch Formula One in the United Kingdom. And I'd watched Formula One before, as I was saying, back in primary school, but it wasn't until 2007 where I'd watch every single qualifying session and race sort of dedicated. So I guess that's where it all started, but of course it didn't just end there. It could have ended there, but it didn't.
And I've also heard that you are a fan of, as you said, not a Glory supporter kind of guy. The last one we did was Dan, who we found out he was a Roman Grosjean fan, and not kind of the man you would expect at the front. And I've heard that you are an Adrian Sutil fan, the German driver who, I mean, let's say that he's remembered for his Lewis Hamilton altercations and his, careers at Force India and Sauber. So, go on, how did you get to be an Adrian Sutil fan?
Wow, memories. I mean, I mentioned that I've never really supported a good driver in my life, really. I mean, I supported Yana Trulli, as I said, then it was Adrian Sutil, and then it was Danny Kvyat most recently. So, not the most illustrious career drivers. But yeah, Adrian Sutil, I don't know, once again, it's very strange to think back. Obviously, I started watching Formula One properly that year because of Lewis Hamilton. I don't know whether it was partly because they were friends at the time, but also the Spiker as well. I liked an underdog team, and I saw him always put in a really solid performance. He got a point that season. He always seemed to be outperforming that car, and I guess that was something I really liked to see in him as a driver. I mean, I don't know why I didn't, support a Super Aguri driver or someone instead, but someone like Takuma Sato, I think, was doing some decent races here and there at that era as well. But I don't know, it's something about Adrian Sutil. I guess I sort of connected with him in a way or something, that I just liked his driving style and the fact that he always. He was kind of a bit like win it or bin it, I think, at the start of his career. He'd get a really good performance or just end up crashing on lap one. So maybe I sort of just liked the way he drove, and I think the orange car as well was something that maybe as a, I don't know, 11, 12-year-old is something that sort of draws you in.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, sounds good. As you said there, you didn't really have a team or a driver, but did anything British catch your eye? Obviously, Lewis Hamilton, Jensen Button, and well, most of the teams, McLaren and Williams, British. Did anything like that really catch your eye when you were getting into the sport?
I think part of it might have been, I think it was ITV's coverage at the time. I mean, obviously it was quite biased, just as is, any British broadcasters' F1 coverage nowadays. But there's something about ITV's coverage back then was that always sort of just drew me into the sport and always, put a focus on, yes, Hamilton, but also Button, Davidson, Coulthard. I mean, I always quite like David Coulthard as a driver as well, but I guess I'm not that loyal to the United Kingdom in terms of drivers, really. I would never really outright supported any driver that was British, except for maybe Lewis Hamilton when he first came to the sport. I mean, David Coulthard, as you said, but yeah, unfortunately, I don't have a good answer to that question in terms of being a British motorsport fan. It's I never really supported a good driver, and unfortunately, none of those have been British either.
Yeah, well, no, that's understandable. My driver's Dutch and Austrian team, so of course, yeah, I get that. So the last thing on Formula One, how you got into it. So you mentioned Danny Kvyat as your kind of current driver. But on the grid at the moment, of what we've seen this year, who is your team? Who's the driver that you follow? Who is, if anything, you don't support them, but who's the one that you would say, you know what, I'm going to give most of my allegiance to?
Well, I'm actually going to whip up the Wikipedia page right now, just so I don't miss anyone out. I'm not going to lie, I always thought Kevin Magnussen got a bit of a rough end of the stick when he got kicked out of McLaren in his first year. I mean, I know he hasn't had the best record since. I mean, I know he's gone through quite a lot of down moments and involved with quite a lot of accidents. He's someone that I tend to favour, I guess, once again, a bit like I was saying with Sutil, maybe that aggressive driving style I quite like. I actually listened to the F1 podcast with Perez recently, and that made me quite interested in him, just his background. I mean, I don't outright support him, but he's a driver now. I'm a little bit more interested in him now I know a bit more about him. But I think, weirdly, I'll say Magnussen, but the other driver that really has sort of come into my mind over this season especially has been Alex Albon. I know it's someone we all wrote off at the start of this season. Firstly, he's got my lucky number. Secondly, he's got the same name. But thirdly, I think that he's just a really exciting driver to watch. He hasn't got quite the speed of Max right now. I mean, he's still like half a second away most of the time, but the speed's obviously there. Same time exactly in Japan qualifying as Max. So on his day, he can obviously be quite quick. And I think maybe Alex Albon's going to be one of the drivers I support. Because I'll be honest to myself, I don't know how many years Danny Kvyat's got left after, especially not so good season this year.
And last question: why is Alex Albon? Why is 23 your lucky number? Apart from, I mean, I don't. Are you 23?
I'm 23 now, yeah, but it's not the reason why. I know this should be my best year of my life or something. I don't know. That's how it should work, right? But I don't know. It's a weird story. I was saying to my dad actually I think it's because when I was younger, for some reason I associated colours with numbers, and blue and green my favourite numbers. They were 2 and 3. That sounds really, really weird, but it must have been something they taught us at school or something that made me get to that. But that's the only thing I have. I'm sorry, it's not a better story.
That's a good story. It's better than how most of us got our lucky numbers. But yeah, that's my questions, Alex.
So the next thing is YouTube. It's a big part of your life, of course, Alex. It's getting to a big part of ours. It's a really, it's a big thing as well, isn't it? So. Before I ask you, how you originally started, am I correct in thinking or knowing that you had a channel before your current one?
Yeah, I actually had 2.
You had 2.
I think.
So, what were they, and what were they about, and why did you change from one to the other to what you have now?
So they were sort of similar sort of thing. If you go and look back to the start of the channel I've currently got, it was sort of like just like Call of Duty and stuff like that. Anything that like a 13, 14-year-old shouldn't be playing, but is, and they kind of want to just upload. It was those sort of things. It was called Mr. Crazy Afro Guy, I think. It was not, I don't know, completely opposite to my actual personality because I was so shy back then, especially. But yeah, I think it was just, I started again twice. Just, I think I wanted a fresh slate. I think
Yeah.
There was also like pressure at school. I mean, people just make fun of you. I don't know if you guys have gone through that as well. People make fun of you for just like stupid reasons, like you're making YouTube videos. Like that's surely something that should be looked on as a positive thing, especially as a shy kid trying to break out of his mold. So yeah, I think I can't remember when I restarted. I think it was around 2011 when I restarted this channel. So that was, just as I was finishing secondary school, going to sixth form. So I think I decided I wanted a fresh slate. I also wanted to focus more on racing videos. I mean, if you go back to the very, very start, you'll probably see there's a couple of racing videos there. I've actually deleted quite a lot of the old videos on this current channel, like the Call of Duty stuff, but it sort of blended all into one. But I think I really just wanted to sort of go at a different angle. I think once I started seeing F1 2011 videos, that's when I was like, this is what I mean I need to do. This is the sort of thing I have the most passion for, so I'm going to give it a go.
Yeah, you were still trying to find like that identity, weren't you?
Yeah,
Of, like,
exactly.
yeah, like Call of Duty, probably, and maybe FIFA, for example, or a Star Wars game, or even obviously Formula One, which was the main thing, and motorsport as well, because I know you're away from like Formula One, you're a big motorsport fan in general. So like other games, probably like Forza or Project Cars. I know you did a good series on that. So again, he was still trying to find that identity. So. So what? So yeah. So was that one of the main reasons why you started YouTube in the first place? Was because like, I would say, I wouldn't say like YouTube as such now, because you mentioned before about you just skip one channel to the next. You were trying to break out, but once you found that mojo of, okay, I like talking about this Formula One and motorsport, was that like the real proper beginning for yourself? And did it actually break you away from that shyness? Are you still quite shy to this day, and it hasn't really done anything?
Well, I think it definitely did help. I mean, if I look back to some of my early videos, I mean, I still only have like quite a close group of people. I never really broke out and wanted, hundreds of friends and all that sort of stuff. I still only have really a close group of people that, I chat to every single day, sort of thing. But, I still have people that I get on with really well. But back then it was like basically just one or two people that I'd speak to, just because I was so shy and didn't even want to speak to other people at school, sort of thing. So I think once I got into like gaming videos, and once I realized, okay, I'm not good at the game, but people are watching my videos, I guess it made me feel a little bit more confident, which allowed me to just sort of get more confident in everything I do. And it sounds weird, but I probably wouldn't even wanted to do anything like this when I was starting. I wouldn't have even wanted to chat to anyone else online, because I was just so petrified about everything that could go wrong, even though it's like, obviously it can't really. So I think it has really, really helped. I think a couple of things: starting YouTube, then going to university, and then getting a job. All of those have just helped me, step by step, get to where maybe a person is, well, normally. But it took me a long time, because I've always been very, very shy. So I think this is weirdly something I needed my whole life, but it took my time to get there.
Yeah, it's definitely helped you. Definitely helped you in life. What you said there before about university, so you quickly mentioned that you were at uni. This year you did a university project, I believe, where you did your dream chaser documentary, which was amazing. By the way,
Appreciate that.
I think it was back in, no problem. It was back in June. I think you released it, where you were. Actually, I'll let you explain what it was about and what actually happened for those that maybe who haven't caught it, or don't know about it yet.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, for our last year at university, I was doing a video production course. So a lot of university, you basically have your dissertation as your main thing, like your, I don't know, 20,000 word essay. That wasn't the main thing at our university. Our main thing was sort of, you produce a 20-minute long video project alongside our dissertation. So we had our dissertation and we had this video project of 20 minutes. I knew this obviously since I started uni, that this was going to come around at some point. So I started uni in 2016, but then I think at the end of my first year, I was already thinking about what am I going to do. I think I'm always quite like that. I like to just plan. Not a lot of stuff doesn't even go into action, but I just love planning stuff. So I think I was in a hotel room, we're at like a German touring car race with a friend, and I was just sort of like just not shouting, like just telling my ideas that I had off the top of my head. And then there was obviously this one that go and achieve a dream, go and take part in my first motor race. I mean, it evolved a lot since that point, but over the space of the next sort of 18 months, we got to the space where it could actually happen. So I basically went through the steps of what any amateur has to do to get into motorsport. So, getting the budget together, deciding where I'm going to race, getting the medical, then the license, and then just putting everything together to actually get out there on track. And it's something that I've always been really interested about. And there's a lot of stuff that you don't realize. I mean, you could be just sitting next to someone, in the pub or something that's a racing driver, and you'd never know what they've sort of the little things they've got to go through to become a racing driver. It's a pretty interesting little story, and not all of it we were able to show just because we didn't have enough time. But it's it was always a journey that I wanted to know more about, and I'm happy to have gone on that and actually lived it out, which is quite nice. I mean, it's crazy to do it as a university project, because I guess most people spent relatively little on their university project, but we had to spend an awful lot more. But thanks to obviously you guys are a part of it. You helped me out. You sponsored me. A lot of other people did as well. And we got some, I guess, corporate sponsors which helped us out as well. I mean, I think that's just maybe part of my thing, just planning, and somehow it all came together at some point. I mean, I don't know what I would have done if it didn't come together, but yeah, pretty incredible journey. Went through that whole journey of just going from nothing to doing my first race. Obviously, you watched the documentary, it didn't happen the first time, which is obviously quite a heartbreaking.
I don't get emotional at stuff. I don't cry. I don't tend to cry, but I nearly shed a tear. I was like, oh, Alex, no, don't do this to me. Please say this is fake. Please say this is fake.
It's like, you know what? It was so bad. I mean, not like I wasn't like really emotional, or whatever, in the car, but I was just thinking to myself when I knew I wasn't going to get on track. I'm like, how am I going to finish this documentary? That was the first thing that was going through my head. It wasn't, oh, I'm not going to live out my dream, because in the back of my mind, it always was like, I need to get a grade for this documentary at the end of it. So weirdly, our tutor said that was a pretty good ending in a way. It was quite a different ending. It wasn't, oh, it just all happened sort of thing. There was a bit of sort of a blip in the journey. So, I eventually did get around to doing my first motor race, which is going to be in the extended cut, which we're very close to finishing. It's taken a long time, like 6 months, because of work. I'm editing it with one of the guys that helped me with it in the first place. So it's getting there, but I guess when you're focusing on other things, it's not always the easiest, to focus on something that you're not getting paid for, and you've got to, pay the bills, sort of thing.
Yeah. So the last thing I want to mention about YouTube is it's not so much that people, I don't think people like other people have asked or anything like that, but it's personally what I want to know, which is I remember you did this series, I think it was a good few years back now, called Behind the Visor, where you would interview a series of racing drivers such as Paul di Resta, of course, of Sky Sports, Pascal Wehrlein, who was in Formula One, and Timo Glock. I mean, where do we? Timo Glock in Brazil. That's all I'm saying about that. How did that? First of all, how did that come about to interview those type of drivers, and how how good of a privilege was it to to interview such well-known names in the world of motorsport?
Yeah, I do find it very lucky to have had those opportunities. Weirdly, it all kind of started with, I was speaking at the end of 2017, when I was, going through all these ideas about third-year projects and sort of stuff. But it all sort of came out through university, actually. I mean, especially DTM. They're the guys that have been really, really helpful in this whole thing. You'll probably notice most of the drivers that have featured in it are because of have been in DTM at some point over the last couple of years, and that's why I've been interviewing them.
The three I mentioned, of di Resta, Glock, and Wehrlein, were all in DTM when you interviewed them.
Yeah. So the reason for that is I basically just emailed them on the off chance. I was like, DTM, we're doing this university project. By this stage, I'd sort of realised that I wanted to do something in it. I think Yeah, so there were two different university projects that we were basically working on. One of them sort of never happened, but we'd got the interviews anyway. And the second one was obviously this big sort of dream chaser project, which is where most of these sort of interviews come from. So, I had the opportunity to interview them. I only needed sort of one or two questions for the university project, but obviously, selfishly, you kind of want to ask them some other things as well. So that's how it sort of came about. Really, was just sort of asking BTM, can we do this for a university project? They said yes. Pretty incredible. I know. I think other people have actually written to them and got a similar sort of thing. So if you want to do a university project around motorsport, it's probably worth a shout. But yeah, they were just really, really helpful in that regard. They were saying, come over. Obviously, you've got to pay for your own flights and that sort of stuff, so it's not exactly cheap. But once you get there, they sort of gave you really good access in terms of interviewing these drivers. So I got the questions that I needed for the university project. Some of them will be included in the sort of long cut of our project. We couldn't include them in the shortcut because we just had so little time. So some of those will be included in the long cut. Yes, it all came out through university. Really, it wasn't really anything to do with YouTube. Weirdly, I know, but I guess like a Formula One or DTM, they don't really care about like social media followers or whatever. Really, they're just trying to get sort of professional interviews or whatever coming through. So I'll just say it's a bit of a stretch to call them professional interviews, but I'm happy with how a few of them came out, especially.
Yeah, no, I thought they were really good. I really did enjoy them. I was like, how did he do that? But now I know. Thank you.
That's all right.
That's one of my questions. Kind of answered now.
So, Alex, back to me again, and I have a feeling, correct me if I'm wrong, that you are a Brighton fan in football.
Yeah, I guess it's my local club. I mean, when I was younger, I supported Manchester United because that's what everyone does when they're young. But I think once I realised I live nowhere near Manchester, I probably got to support my local club. And I guess for the last sort of 4 or 5 years, I've supported Brighton. Saw them obviously come up to the Premier League, so it was a decent enough time to start supporting them.
Well, awesome, yeah. Well, had no idea about the Manchester United thing. I'd definitely be getting onto that. The reason I knew Brighton is because when we did our predictions and you sent through your predictions to me to verify, you actually had a Brighton sticker, a Brighton stationery even.
Oh, really?
So I found out through that. Of course, me and John are Newcastle fans, and we had a bit of an indirect showdown for the 2017 Championship title. So that's probably about the extent of the Brighton knowledge I have. So, Manchester United then, of course, you first see that kind of emblem when you get into, say, Formula 1, into football, all the famous names that they've had, Rooney gigs, things like that. So, tell us a little bit about how you ended up supporting them, and of course how you made the sensible option to walk away and support your local.
Well, it's all because my granddad, when he was alive, he was he was watched and supported Manchester United. I have no idea why, but I think he supported them basically his whole life. So I guess that would have been like the 50s or the 60s he must have been supporting them. So yeah, he supported them for a long time, but there was no real reason for me to. So yeah, I guess that's the reason why I was younger. And obviously when you're a kid, you kind of just go towards the glory supporting route. Well, I mean, some kids do. I was obviously one of them. But I guess I've not conflicted. I've gone in the opposite way. Sorry, with my F1 supporting drivers. maybe that gets back my credibility a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, my dad's from Liverpool, so obviously I kind of watched a few Liverpool games with him, and he made sense to go to, again, our local team. So, the Formula 1 fan, football fan, what are your other interests? Do you have any other sports that you follow alongside F1?
It's strange, actually. I feel like my whole life is basically just living through different forms of motorsport. I mean, I go and watch football with my friends, especially. I find time to do that because obviously it's nice to catch up with friends. So, my friends support West Ham,
right.
So that's interesting.
So,
going to their ground.
To London Stadium then?
I did go to quite a lot of games a few years ago with them. So I've, really because they probably won't come to Brighton. It's nice to go and just spend a day out with them at West Ham. And secretly when West Ham aren't doing too well, it's sort of like you're walking out the stadium, no you don't, you don't support them, so it's all right. But just joking aside though, really it's always a good experience just to catch up with friends. That's the reason why I sort of got back into football over the last sort of 5 years. But to answer your question, not really. As I say, motorsport is sort of the big thing for me. I love cycling. I do cycling like every single day, but weirdly enough, I don't like dedicate myself to watching every single tour that's on TV, for example, because it's a little bit monotonous. It's not the most exciting sport to watch sometimes. So it's basically motorsport for me, or something with wheels normally, and then football on the side. So sorry, it's not a very good answer to the
I
question.
completely agree. I mean, those two sports are definitely the best. I think they're Jordan's two favorite sports. So also cycling as well. I'm a big cycling fan. So Tour de France, Alex. Do you watch the Tour de France religiously? All 21 stages of it.
Well, I really liked Andy Schleck when he
Yeah.
was in the tour. So he was someone that I would go and watch every single thing that he was doing a few years ago. But then obviously he sort of, um, I guess, kept getting beaten by people that were taking the old drugs.
Yeah.
So I guess that kind of unfortunately killed off his career a little bit. But yeah, he was someone that I always just loved watching. Someone that I think was fantastic for the sport of cycling. Well, at least I think it was. You never know what's going to come out, unfortunately. But I try and watch the Tour de France. I missed quite a lot of this year's. I don't know why, but I did. But for pretty much every year for the last 6 or 7 years before it, since the early 2010s, I try to watch every stage. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, I mean, Andy Schleck, great rider, brother as well. Obviously, Andy and Frank. I love following brother partnerships.
yeah.
So yeah, definitely. You mentioned university, of course. So tell us a little bit about that. Obviously, of course, the education side, but of course, also the main thing is the fun, the sports, the partying, if you like.
Well, I'm going to be really lame and say that I don't know, you probably don't know where it is, but Maidstone is where it was sort of all based. It's basically the middle of nowhere, and I'd say 80% of the people on our course just lived at home, so there wasn't really any of the party and that sort of stuff. I've obviously been out to pubs and stuff with friends, but it wasn't that frequent. And I guess being the shy kid, it wasn't really what I wanted to do. I just wanted to go
Yeah,
home and play video games or something like that. I know it sounds really sad, but
not at all.
yeah, I guess there's
That's
still
fine.
probably part of that to find out over the next couple of years, when through work and that sort of stuff. So, I look forward to what's to come.
Were you on any sports teams or societies?
No, I mean, our course was good in a lot of ways, but we didn't really have any sort of sports teams. We were basically, our campus, if you will, was a television studio, so we were the only course coming out of it. So to get anywhere near to our, I guess, official um, place that we were supposed to go to university, it was about 30, 40 minutes and way out the way for everyone. So most people just decided not to do it because obviously it's quite a lot of hassle, especially if you don't live there.
Yeah, exactly. And was it media production that you did at university or something like that? Is that right?
Yeah, basically
Yeah.
television production. So it covered quite a lot of the grand scheme of things. Being a camera operator, being an editor, but it was all really based on TV. So I don't have that much interest in
Yeah.
film, if you will. I love documentaries and some things on
As we've
TV,
seen, yeah.
but mostly documentaries. And then but film never really interested me as much. That's the reason why it's television course.
Yes. So favorite television series?
I think I quite like. I don't know. I don't really watch actually that much TV. It's mostly just something on
Yeah.
Netflix. But we'll go with
Go on,
something on TV. Just
Netflix. What's your favorite Netflix series or favorite thing to watch on Netflix?
so I guess something like the Grand Tour or F1
Yeah,
Drive to
I knew you were
Survive
going
is
to say
probably
that
it. But
one.
if we're
Good one.
looking outside it, I think I guess something like Line of Duty is something that I
Yeah.
quite enjoy on BBC. Um, there's a couple other things that I can't remember off the top of my head, but that sort of thing. I think Orphan Black a couple of years ago. That was something that I quite liked a few years ago. But I'm not that interesting. I'm pretty basic. I just probably watch the main things that come up, whatever on
Yeah.
Netflix and Amazon and TV. I'll just watch whatever it's there.
So obviously, Drive to Survive, Series One. Of course, every Formula One fan enjoys it. Out of 10, I mean, what are your notes? Would you improve on the series? What would you improve for Series Two for Drive to Survive?
I don't know whether I'm allowed to say out of 10 because I guess they're sort of like technically uh, co-colleagues or
That is
whatever, so
true.
maybe
Yeah,
I
yeah.
shouldn't. But I think there were definitely things that were over dramatic that didn't need to be. And I guess things like the battle in Spain where they were trying to make Carlos Sainz and Alonso seem like they're having this great battle when
Yeah.
they weren't. They're just sort of little things as an F1 fan, like a diehard F1 fan, that you're like, that doesn't need to be there. But I think it was very, very good. But I'm sure that season 2 will be better. I mean, the amount of stuff that's gone on this year, if it's not better,
Yeah.
it's going to be better.
I'm excited for it. Yeah. I mean, I remember one thing as well about that Drive to Survive series where it was the last episode, I think it was, when it was in Abu Dhabi, actually. I think when Hulkenberg rolled over and he was stuck in the car when it was like leaning up against the barrier, and they made this like dramatic thing of like, oh my god, he's dead.
Oh.
Like it was just like he's not.
You don't need
like,
that.
It was like this so like less anticipation thing I've ever watched, and I'm like that. Yeah, definitely true Formula One fan by watching this. Like Nico,
Yeah.
no answer. And it's like he's
I was
alive.
watching.
Don't worry, he's alive.
I was watching the series with one of my friends, and the fact is, when it comes on the end, so for example, Marcus Ericsson didn't get a drive for obviously this year, or the next year when Series 1 came out, and it doesn't say why, and then a lot of people and Formula 1 fans say, well, why? So more information needs to come. So just for me, Alex, on the media side, final thing, of course, it is Christmas. I mean, are you a big Christmas fan? How do you see the holidays in the run up? I mean, Are you like a John Lewis advert? Do you celebrate it in mid-October, or do you celebrate it, a week to go?
I think I'd try and celebrate it normally. I mean, this would be like my first year where I guess I don't know, going through university, as you probably know, it's you go through basically working full time. It's sort of like non-stop, and you kind of just forget about it until it happens. I guess that's what it's going to be like now for the rest of my life, probably. Like you get past that certain age, probably sort of 16 or 17 for most people at least, and then it sort of just becomes a couple of weeks of work or whatever, or school, or but yeah, no, obviously I look forward to buying people, my family, presents and that sort of stuff. I'm looking forward to hopefully buying the right sort of thing. Personally, don't really need presents myself anymore because you get to that stage where you can just sort of buy what you want. But it's nice just to obviously have everyone together and relax.
Yeah, that sounds good. So, what is your favourite Christmas film?
Is there any F1?
F1. I guess you watch Rush on the 25th, so maybe that turns to Christmassy.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I don't really have a film that sort of stands out. I mean, there must have been one or two when I was younger, but that was quite a long time ago now. So unfortunately, I can't remember. But I think when you're growing up, quite a lot of them are entertaining and interesting of sorts. So yeah, probably the ones from like the early 2000s. I'd say there's probably some in there. I don't know the names of them, but they're probably good ones to maybe rewatch.
Yeah. Okay.
They're like one of those ones where like you'll be scrolling through on Channel 5, for example, and you'll be like, oh, I remember this film from like when I was like 6. Oh, let's watch this as well, like quite reminiscent.
Yeah.
It's good. So the next thing is we've got some fan questions, which it's such a relief to say this because it's always the fear of right. Okay, next part is questions. I've got one. So it's always a big. Oh, thank God, people have actually sent us some questions. So Alex, the first one comes in from Thomas Hill. Mm-hmm. Now Thomas Hill asked us a corker of a question in our Q&A a few weeks ago. No, about a few months ago now. And he says, "Hi Alex, love your videos. My question is, I know you're really into karting. Any tips or tricks for people to get into karting and to enjoy it? Thanks."
Well, firstly, thanks for the question and thank you for the praise. It's a strange one because I started karting, not professionally or anything, just like arrive and drive sort of thing. I think that's like 2007, 8, around that sort of time. Because of Lewis Hamilton, obviously, you want to give it a go yourself. But
yeah.
Tips, I guess something that really helped me was just sort of losing weight. Something that I lost about like 20 kilos or something like that, and that really made me get a bit quicker in a go-kart because I was really struggling. But I think also it's just doing things more than once. If you just go there once and then you don't, you find yourself like 3 seconds off the pace, maybe just don't get yourself down about it because that's something that's very easy to do. I mean, I went to Buckmore Park for the first ever time a couple of months ago, and the leaders were like 2 seconds a lap faster than me. Obviously quite daunting when you've done a lot of karting and you feel like you're at least getting somewhere, to then have someone go so much quicker than you. But I think you realise that just those guys get that more experience. Like if someone came to the track like near us, I should be quicker than them because I've got so much experience around there. So yeah, just don't get down. Maybe this sounds like a professional racing driver or something, but I'm not. But just in terms of my experience doing rental go-karting, it's likely that someone will be faster than you most of the time. But yeah, don't let that get you down, and maybe just if you just go back and give it a go, and you'll get quicker and quicker. In terms of like what you can do in terms of preparation, I think YouTube's obviously a great source now. I mean, we're probably going to go to a couple of different tracks next year, so I know I'm going to be a bit slower there. So I'll just look on YouTube, try and find some onboards. I mean, GoPros and other equivalent action cameras are good ways of just sort of broadcasting yourself for for your channel or whatever. But it's also good ways of looking at what lines people are doing, and also understanding where the breaking points are going to be. And then also in terms of like driving styles and stuff, there's lots of good channels out there on YouTube which just sort of can teach you how to make the most out of a corner, for example, and where to brake and that sort of stuff. But apart from that, maybe just following someone that's quicker out on track, seeing where they're braking, seeing where they're going fast and quicker than you, that sort of stuff. But yeah, basically just, I think it sounds such a cliche thing to say, but a lot of people just lose the enjoyment out of it because they really want to like be quick or whatever, but they actually lose the enjoyment out of actually just trying to go karting. So I think there was a moment, I ran this little championship with my friends and family, nothing that special or whatever, but I did get to a point where I'm just like, I need to win, but other than I need to have fun. So I think once I was happy, more just enjoying it more, I actually got quicker at the same time. So I think it all blends into one. So just maybe don't take it too seriously, especially if you're just doing rental cars like I am.
Yeah, so it's just that not don't give up attitude.
Yeah,
really,
exactly.
Because like you said, you show up to the track, you're thinking, you're just driving a go-kart. How hard can it be?
Yeah.
And it's, I'll be all right. I've watched Formula One. I've watched Hamilton. I know what's going on. And then like you end up being like 10 seconds a lap slower, and you're like right at the back of the pack, and you're like, right. And that's a big wake-up call, isn't it? And then that's pretty much where it starts, really. Once you know how quick you are, or how much you need to learn, isn't it? But I mean, I've only did casual karting, so I can't really speak. So the next question comes in from F1 Fanatics Mike. Now he's asked us a lot of questions in these F1 YouTubers Decoded series. So thank you very much for sending in your questions, Mike. Now he says, now Alex, you have a job. Now Alex has a job in Formula One. Now I just want to quickly say that for those that don't know, that when you see highlights of a Formula One race on the F1 YouTube channel, it's actually edited by yourself, Alex, isn't it?
Well, one of them has been so far. It's another guy that works in Formula One. But if you look at the broader scheme of social media, so like the Instagram, the Twitter, quite a lot of that stuff is produced by me, or all of it is produced by either me or one of the people working alongside me. So yeah, I did the United States highlights for the first time. Obviously, it's quite nerve-wracking. You know this video is going to get a lot of views, so getting it right and internal pressures for certain things. it was a lot more crazy than I thought it was going to be, but I'm really happy that I did it. So at least that one thing was good.
That's amazing. I mean, that's really good. I mean, I didn't even know it was you until like I think someone tagged you in it, and I was like, Alex does that? Wow! Oh, that's amazing. So, anyways, Mike says now that Alex has a job in Formula One, what is his career aspirations? Does he have a plan where he wants to progress? In the sport, or is it just enjoying every moment and seeing where the path takes you?
I think it's really obviously to come out of university and get a job that you really enjoy. Obviously, quite nice. Very, very lucky. I realised that, and I feel like maybe part of it was just because I was so driven in university to get a good grade, and then I was so driven to come out of university and get a job. Because I just hate sitting around and doing nothing. So that was my motivation to go out there and get a job. Obviously very lucky to have got the one I did. But I think in terms of looking to the future, I'm doing mostly video editing right now. I'd quite like to do a bit more video operations, like camera operations next year. So I'll maybe do some of that alongside it. But then I'm sort of just like, I'm going to let just let this happen and see what opportunities come in front of me. If none of them do, then I need to work harder. And then if things do, then I'll just see what it is. But very, very happy with obviously what I'm doing now, because I never thought it was going to happen. I mean, I think I got it off just sending an email. So that's just sort of the things. Being a bit more proactive in myself was what got me it. So maybe going into the future, if instead of waiting for something to come through me, maybe I send out a few emails and see what happens, sort of thing. But yeah, very happy with where I am right now. So I have no sort of need to change. But in terms of we're looking 20 years down the line, for example, I'd love to do some proper documentaries. I mean, I guess one of the inspirations to just even get into TV production university course was sort of the David Attenborough shows, just stuff like that. It just always amazes me. So if we're looking 20, 30 years down the line, that would be something I'd absolutely love to work on as a camera operator or something.
Yeah. I mean, what you said there before, you almost gave some people some advice there in the way of, okay, well, I want to do this with my career. How do I go about and do it? And I think in some cases it's a case of no, you go to them rather than they come to you, and that's how that's how you got the opportunity to edit Formula One videos and stuff, and it opens so many other opportunities for it, where ones that you might not think you'll be doing. I don't know, Alex, you might be camera operating on a planet show, for example, or something to do with space or whatever, something completely so far away from motorsport that it's hard to imagine, but it's still what you wanted to do at the end of the day. But it's just a case of you go to there, you find you go to that opportunity, and then who knows where it could take you. Just don't be afraid to ask.
I think sometimes you need to not be afraid to just go and send an email or pick up the phone. I mean, I've been saying to us this whole thing. I mean, I've been so shy my whole life, so picking up a phone and speaking to someone is still very nerve-wracking to me. But over the last sort of couple of months and trying to just get a couple of little things here and there to do alongside F1 work, that's obviously been something that I've really needed to do. So that's obviously allowed me to get a bit more confidence in that. But yeah, just not always letting stuff come to you sometimes, and go out there and proactively try and go and get it, whether you don't know whether anyone needs this thing. So say you like photography, email people saying, do you need photography? Obviously a bit better than that, but do you need photography for this? And then 1 out of 100 people might say yes, and then you might just go from there, sort of thing.
Yeah, good advice. The final question comes in from Viandra. I hope I did say your name right. I do apologise if I didn't. He says, how does it feel to become one of the most well-known F1 YouTubers in the community? Because you've been on here for a long time. You're like the David Attenborough of Formula One YouTube.
I mean, I appreciate...
Not that you're old, it's just that you've been here a very long time. I remember watching your videos back at school, and that was a long time ago.
I mean, I appreciate the compliment. I don't... If we look at my channel now, I definitely don't think I'm a big channel. I definitely haven't been a big channel for a long time. Maybe in terms of the number, but in terms of the videos and that sort of stuff, I know I've got a lot of work to do. But yeah, I guess if we look back to 2015 or 2016, where maybe I, in quotations, peaked, it's pretty surreal in a way to be able to upload something and then a lot of people just comment on it. I guess, like we were saying, I feel like I'm preaching this point, but obviously when you're shy, you don't really have many people to speak to. But so when you're getting, even 10 or 15 comments, it's nice to just have that interaction with someone and chat about it. Even if it's not an opinion you agree with, at least it's debating something. So that's really nice. But yeah, so I guess it's just quite surreal to, even today when I just log into my channel, I realised that the video views are way down, which is fine. I've accepted that. I've moved on. I want to do different content in the future. So I've got some ideas, but right now I realise the video views are low, which is fine on me. It was a stage of my life, but I was actually karting a couple of weeks ago, and they didn't recognise my face because obviously they didn't really ever do face videos, but they recognised the name once I said it, which is quite incredible. This random person I'd never met before going go-kart, and they'd watched my channel, my MotoGP videos back in the day, which is quite incredible. So I'm very appreciative of it, but I also don't think that it holds me up to any sort of, it doesn't make me any better than anyone else. So I'm pretty realistic about that. So yeah, I'm just obviously very, very happy with the opportunities that I've been given. Obviously, if I'd been more dedicated to YouTube over school and university, maybe I could have made something more of it. But I actually said, I think from like day one, I don't want to be a YouTuber, like in terms of like being a full-time YouTuber. This is I had like less than 100 subscribers. I don't want to be a YouTuber. I don't want to make full-time, because like the money has never really been anything that, it hasn't really interested me, like making money off YouTube. I mean, of course I've had ads on my channel, but I never made enough to make a living out of this over a month. So I've always wanted to try and keep it as a hobby, and I guess there were certain points along the journey where it sort of, maybe it sort of gets to your head a little bit. You're like, you've got to just keep uploading videos. I mean, there was a point where I was uploading like 3 videos a day when games first came out. It's just like, that was just pushing it too far, and I was sucking any enjoyment I had out of it. So I'm very, very happy with the things I had, and obviously opportunities and the great people that I met, including yourselves, along this journey. So yeah, I guess that's the thing I sort of take out of it, is I got the confidence throughout this journey, and I also obviously got to meet a lot of great people, including subscribers that I just get to interact with on every video. It's still something I just really appreciate. So yeah, I definitely don't hold myself up at any sort of pedestal or anything. I realise, I think anyone that does is wrong to do so, because it's just a number at the end of the day. But yeah, I think it's been a cool journey.
It has been, I think, yeah. Like I said, you've been on here for a long time. Like I said, I remember watching you, well back in the day. But like, you're very down to earth, and like that's the thing about Formula One, the F1 community on YouTube. Everyone I've interviewed, they're just very down to earth. It's brilliant. Like, there's no one like cocky or anything like that. No one like, oh, look at me, bloody, I've got like however many subscribers or however many views. It's like, yeah, I like Formula One, I like this, I like that, but that's about it. It's brilliant. So the final question. This isn't. I've got no more questions. This is another one from me. Your real name's Alex Baldwin, but your name's on YouTube is AlexZafro. What's a Zafro? What's all that about?
So, like we mentioned this earlier, like the first channel name was Crazy Afro Guy or something like that. So obviously that's got the afro in it as well. So that's the link back then. But I guess the one thing is that I have curly hair, and if I let it grow out, it will become an afro. And I guess I was just trying to think of what's one distinguishable feature about me, and I guess it's the curly hair. So yeah, that's probably it. And the Z in the middle of it, I think it was just to try and make it sound a bit more, sound a bit easier to say, because AlexZafro, it's alright, but AlexZafro, I don't know. I feel like it rolls off the tongue a little bit better.
Once you keep saying it works.
But the 11-year-old me probably didn't really think that. I can't really remember.
It's a good name. So yes, the last thing for this interview, it's been really well. It's been really good. The last one of this year. So kind of a few things about kind of your dreams in YouTube. So a question that we've asked everyone. Is your YouTube, your Formula One dream team. So this is the first time I've actually been on. So let's say 3 drivers from the current grid. So driver 1, 2, and a reserve driver, and a team boss. So who are you going to go with? Who's AlexZafro F1 in 2020?
On the current grid. I guess I've got to look to the future. I can't go for drivers that are just yeah. I mean, this is probably quite controversial. I'm not going to pick Hamilton, I'm not going to pick Vettel, because I guess that's probably the easy thing to do if you look at their championships. But I guess I go with the second most common one. It's probably Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen, right? That's probably what most people say as 2 main drivers, and then a reserve driver. I guess George Russell, maybe. I'd say like maybe they're the 3 drivers that could stand out. I mean, if George Russell gets a Mercedes seat over the next couple of years, he's got to be within a shout of some titles. So yeah, probably those 3 drivers. And then, are we saying manufacturer as well?
Let's go. So you can say manufacturer, but let's go team boss. So the team boss from the current grid, who would you get? Oh, actually no. Let's say team boss from anywhere. Let's say who would you bring back to manage your team, or you can steal a manager from a team at the moment.
I can't remember. Is his first name? I think it's McLaren's. Is it Andreas Seidel?
Yes, that's right.
Andreas
yeah.
Seidel.
Yeah, I think that he's obviously rejuvenated McLaren. So I think he's got quite a lot about him. He had a lot of success with Porsche, if I remember correctly, as well. So I think that he's probably someone that you'd want at the top of your game. But I think Christian Horner is also pretty good with what he's done in his time in Formula One as well. So let's go with Andreas Seidel. Let's try and be a little
Sounds
bit
good.
different.
And your manufacturer, let's say your manufacturer.
Can I say Honda?
You can say Honda.
I feel like they're on the rise.
Yeah, you can.
Honda have been, no one would say them, but of course Brazil. It wasn't three Hondas. It was a Honda and a Honda,
Yeah.
and a team that used to be with Honda. So kind of a Honda. I'd say a Honda all around, really.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been a Honda 1, 2, 3,
Could have
couldn't
been,
it?
yes.
I mean,
It could have been.
maybe, possibly. I don't know whether it would have worked out like that, but still, yeah,
Um,
probably the best day Honda ever had,
definitely.
right? Well, maybe not
so,
ever,
yeah.
but it's got to be up there.
One of them.
So
Recently,
Alex, 3 Formula One races. Let's say for the 2020 calendar, so of course including Zandvoort and the race in Vietnam, 3 races that you would like to go to.
Go to. Okay, I'm going to get up the Wikipedia page again. It's not that bad, it's just one button. So, I'm not going to include ones I've been to, I've only been to a couple, but I really want to go to the Red Bull Ring in Spielberg. I mean, that surrounding is pretty impressive. So that's one I'd love to go to. I guess Suzuka as well. I think Japan has always interested me, somewhere I haven't been. I haven't been to a lot of places, but that's somewhere I definitely haven't been. And I think, so Japan, Austria, Red Bull Ring, and I guess Monaco, just because obviously what a crazy experience that would be if you got the right sort of pass and all that sort of stuff. So let's go with those 3. But I guess somewhere like Vietnam might interest me. We'll see how 2020 goes first.
Yeah,
though.
exactly. Yeah, first race. So Alex, what actual races have you been to? So I don't think we've actually discussed that.
In terms of Formula One, I've been to Britain, so Silverstone, Montreal, obviously Canada, and then Italian Grand Prix Monza twice. I've been to a couple of the other tracks from other events. So I've done Zandvoort with the DTM, Hockenheim DTM, Nürburgring DTM. Most of them are the DTM. The DTM sort of really taken me around parts of Europe, which is quite nice. With a couple of my friends and my dad. So. Yeah, no, I mean, there's so many that I haven't been to, as I said, but there are some really cool tracks out there. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing how Zandvoort sort of plays into F1 next year. I mean, it might be a bit of a procession, but we'll see.
Do you think it will be a Formula One circuit? Because now that I've looked into it more, I'm thinking that it might actually work as a track. But you've been there DTM. Do you think it'll work as a Formula One track? For nowadays?
It's going to be tough for it to be as exciting as, for a wide open track like, I don't know, say Spa or Monza. I don't think it's ever going to be quite like that. But once the new rules come in 21, I think that we'll start to see somewhere like Zandvoort possibly work a bit better. It's going to be a bit like Monaco without the immediate barriers sort of thing. It's going to be tough to overtake. But I also think you kind of need tracks like that. I kind of like tracks that you make a little mistake and you're off. Like, this is where it really tests the drivers to the limit. The drivers that can push it to 100% and not make mistakes, they're going to benefit at Zandvoort. So it might not be the most exciting race, but if you want to see drivers on the limit and drivers making mistakes, it's going to be an interesting one. I think especially next year where it's going to be tough with the regulations.
Yeah, definitely. So, very last question, Alex, before we round off today. As it's Christmas, a bit of a light-hearted question. You can only invite one driver to Christmas dinner from the current grid. And I tell you what, I'll say the current grid, and you can also have Adrian Sutil if you'd like. So, who are you inviting?
They're going to be fuming otherwise. No, this is... I guess the easy answer is someone like Daniel Ricciardo, because it would just be an incredible laugh.
Good one.
Kimi Räikkönen is just like a no-go, isn't it? That's just going to be boring.
I would stock him on the drink if
you
get him
I've
around.
heard that.
Actually, yeah. Once you get a few in him, he's probably right. I'll say maybe... Yeah, probably Daniel Ricciardo, or I guess maybe someone like George Russell or someone. I mean, that's not the obvious choice, but just to see his career and the crazy spike to Formula One, maybe someone like him. But Yeah, let's go probably Daniel Ricciardo. It's the easy option.
Well, definitely a good option. I'd stay away from Lewis Hamilton as well. I don't think him and Sutil would get on very well over the Christmas turkey.
Probably best not.
But Alex, that is the end of the interview. Thank you very much for being with us today. It's a privilege. Of course, you were with us on our first episode of 2019. I think this is our last. But kind
Second off last.
It's our last episode of Decoded. Of course, rounding off 2019. It's been a pleasure having you on. Any final thoughts from you today?
Yeah, well, firstly, thank you guys. I appreciate this. I mean, I owe you so much because obviously you helped me out at the start of this year. So we're going to definitely do more of these in the future. So, as I said, I owe you a lot, but I also love doing these things as well because it's nice to not. I guess sometimes a lot of people are asking me to do stuff, but it's like this is something I really want to do. It's nice to actually have an interesting conversation about something like this. So yeah, I appreciate you guys massively for inviting me on, and it's been a great series.
Pleasure. Jordan, final thoughts from you?
Yeah, no, I've loved this series. A bit of a weird how it came about, but no, I think I really have enjoyed talking to Alex today. Like you said, Alex, it's nice to just talk about obviously about Formula One and motorsport and just about casual things as well, just like everyday life. It's just nice to do something different. I'm hoping that we get a second series. Fingers crossed that we do get a second series of F1 YouTubers Decoded. Hopefully we can sort something out for next season because I know you guys listening have been loving the series. And of course, Alex, I hope that people now know a bit more about you because you've done a lot of Q&As over the years. So it was quite hard to right, okay, what hasn't he been asked and what can we talk about? And it's like, because like same with Dan from F1 Reviews, he does like weekly Q&As, so I was just like, oh, what hasn't he been asked and stuff. So, but no, it's been a really good one as well. Alex, as always, it's been I'm absolutely privileged to have you on the channel at the start of the year, and also again for you to come back on and do this with us as well. So I can't thank you enough for doing that. So
that's all right. No, I mean it's really good questions as well. I mean I don't think I'm that interesting, so thank you for actually making it sound like I'm interesting.
Well, yep, as it's our pleasure. Again, as John said, guys, this was his idea, of course. We've really enjoyed it. We hope you guys have as well. Listening, thank you to every guest that we've had on so far. Again, like you said, hopefully we can get a series going in 2020, get other YouTube stars on. And yes, that has been us for 2019. Of course, have a very good day today. Merry Christmas. Have a great end to 2019. And of course, until next year, even, that has been the F1 Debater for us. And we will see you later.